Hello, my name is Sophie and welcome back to my channel. I think we're close enough to the end of the year that I can make this video relatively safely, knowing it's probably not going to change at least too dramatically between now and the 31st of December. But I thought it would be nice to round up all of the books that I rated 5 stars this year. There are only 12 of them, which is a nice number in terms of one a month, but it wasn't actually one a month. And it's not actually that many, especially because a lot of these are rereads. Inadvertently, I ended up rereading more than I ever have before this year. Not to say that I reread more than I read new books, but there's a lot of books that I have said are on my physical TBR for the sake of rereading them to ascertain whether I want them in my collection still. I think almost all of them, especially the ones in this list, are books that I read and loved as a teenager. And as someone who will be turning 30 in 2026, I'm quite far away from being a teenager. And actually, there were probably some teenagers out there who might enjoy some of these books more than I do. So if I reread them and decided I hadn't loved them, I probably would have donated them. But obviously not the case in a video where I'm talking about 5-star books. So there, all in all, are 12 books this year. 4 of them are actually from the same series. A couple of them were incredibly unexpected. One of them I don't even own physically. I don't think I have any more statistics, so I'll just jump right in because we all know I love a ramble, and I will probably end up rambling about the books that I love, either unstoppably or not have any words at all for them. So let's dive right in and find out. I haven't put these in any particular order, especially because I could have done them chronologically, but the 4 books that are within the same series I did not read sequentially, so they would have just popped up throughout the whole year. So I've tried to put them in a vague kind of theme, but mostly it's done on vibes. So this is not a top to bottom rank, except I have absolutely put my favourite book of the year at the bottom. So there's that. So first up, I thought I'd take you through the rereads, and the first of which on the list, not that I read first, was The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I don't know why I associate this book with The Fault in Our Stars. I think it's because the film adaptations of both of those books came out at the same time, but I'm pretty sure this book is actually much older than when the film came out. And this book is beautiful. I don't know if I see it through an autistic lens because I got my autism diagnosis this year, but I'm 99% sure the main character in this book is autistic, and being able to read that now as someone who is diagnosed and who understands themselves and their anxieties more, I both had a lot of sympathy for the main character Charlie and also for the version of me that read this when I was a teenager. It's a stunning story, beautifully written, really quick, easy read. I bet the audiobook's good. I didn't listen to the audiobook, but I reckon that's probably pretty good. It's one of those, this is a peak book of, oh, you rated it 5 stars, what was it about? Absolutely no idea. Couldn't tell you really. I know the main character's name is Charlie. It's kind of a book about mental health, but also not really. And I loved it. Why did I love it? Don't know. Wonderful representation of being inside the head of someone who is very vulnerable and very full of love but not sure how to give it. It's a wonderful story of friendship and the difficulties of being a teenager, and it's just stunning. I love this book with all my heart, and I have no doubt that I will be rereading it again in my life. This copy has been battered, I think because it was probably in my school bag for a while, but I read this again this year. I rated it 5 stars again this year, and I absolutely loved it. How many times am I going to say that in this video? Then we have the series that I've been rereading this year. If you've watched any of my videos this year, I've probably inadvertently or completely advertently mentioned this series, and that is Maximum Ride by James Patterson. The first book is called The Angel Experiment. This went on my 25 in 2025 for the exact reason I mentioned earlier. I wasn't sure whether I still felt the same way about it, whether I still wanted them in my collection, but also I just wanted to reread them. This book was such a pinnacle part of me being 13, 14. Me and my friendship group are the reason that fanfiction.net got banned from my school. Not that that would have bothered anyone else, because we were mostly reading, well, some of us were reading Maximum Ride fanfiction. Some of us were reading inappropriate Maximum Ride fanfiction back in the day when it was called Lemons. I really hope there's someone out there that also remembers that, because I can't have made that up. Before it was smut, it was lemons. Maximum Ride, The Angel Experiment. Rereading this was such a nostalgia trip. I love these characters with all my heart and soul, and it was kind of a fun introduction to sci-fi fantasy. Not introduction, obviously I knew about and loved sci-fi fantasy, but it was such a different take, because the whole premise of the series is that you've got these 6 kids that were genetically grown to be 2% bird, and they have wings and they can fly, and obviously for that reason they are wanted. We're living in a crazy world with mad scientists where being able to, I think they called recombinant, or they've managed to combine human and bird DNA, and they can do it with other animals, and maybe, I don't know. The one thing with this series that it's quite difficult to differentiate what happens in each book, especially with books 1, 2 and 3, which I rated all of them 5 stars, almost exclusively for nostalgia. But if you ask me what happens in each of these books, I'm quite clear on what happens in The Angel Experiment, but what happens in School's Out Forever and Saving the World and Other Extreme Sports, I don't know. These could all be one book for all I know. And not for all I know, for all I can remember how to differentiate between them. It's a very flowy plot that goes through all 3, but I thoroughly enjoyed them. They're incredibly fast paced. I don't know if it's because the formatting is like middle grade YA, and the font is quite big and the chapters are really short, but I can read these books genuinely about twice as fast as I read a standard book, which is great for me. Books, so that's books 1, 2 and 3. Books 4 and 5, I did enjoy. I still rated them 4.5, but I just felt the plot was a bit middle book. I was like, this feels a bit purposeless. I'm not sure why we're doing this. What's going on? It's getting a bit whiny. One of the secondary / main characters is getting really irritating. Not sure what to do with this information. But then we got to book 6, which is called Fang, and we went back up to 5 stars, baby. I don't know if maybe it's because the romance really takes off in this book, or like really cements itself. What can I say? It's nostalgia, but also it's fantastic fun writing. I laughed out loud. There was some like almost borderline body horror bits, because I think they're described as thrillers. Because James Patterson is a thriller writer. He doesn't tend to write young adult books. I think he kind of stumbled into this by accident. But, I mean, there's 11 of these books now. I only own 7 of them physically. I'm currently reading book 7. So if I do want to caveat this video with anything, I'm likely to rate that 5 stars as well. Well, am I likely? Because the last 2, other than this one, the middle was 4.5, but this was 5. I might add book 7 as a 5 star onto this list, but I don't own books 8, 9, 10 and 11. As far as I'm aware from my basic research and understanding, books 8 and 9 finish the arc of these characters, and then book 10 and 11 is almost like a next generation thing, and that is intriguing enough to make me want to read them. But I have been building up a hardback collection. I know I picked up the first 3 and showed you them in paperback, but I found 2 of them in hardback this year and I'm very excited about it. But I would like to have a hardback collection, and I think as the series went on, obviously it got less popular, so I don't know if hardbacks exist, so I need to look into it more. There's a real chance that I will be reading the other 4 books in that series going into the new year. Can I feel nostalgic about a book I'm reading for the first time when it's about characters that I've loved since I was 13? Yeah, I think so. We'll find out. I'll let you know. But those are all of the Maximum Ride books that I gave 5 stars. And just rereading that series this year has been an absolute joy. I've really got into my stride with being able to consistently keep up with reading a series. I mean, it's taken me all year to get to book 6 and I'm currently reading book 7, but I will have read all of the books I own in this year. And I'm feeling good about being able to get through a couple more series next year. My monthly TBR plans are currently looking a bit more unrealistic, but we'll cross that bridge in January. Then we get on to some of the books that I read new this year that I rated 5 stars, the first of which was another one from my 25 in 2025, and that is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This is another one that, if you ask me why I rated it 5 stars, I don't really know, because I don't feel as attached to these two main characters as I do to some of the main characters in other 5-star books. But I think this one was just vibes. I just had a wonderful time. It's a Greek mythology book about Achilles, obviously, and his friend, platonic friend, Patroclus. And I listened to the audiobook. The audiobook was wonderful, and I just loved it. I already had the special edition, so maybe I felt like I should love it, but I did just genuinely have a wonderful time. I love Greek mythology, but Madeline Miller has shown me that I do actually like the more literary style of writing, but I just have to listen to it as an audiobook because I find it easier to comprehend, and that's fine. You know, we all have my reading comprehension isn't that great, and I found my way to help myself understand it more. If Madeline Miller releases a new book in 2026, trust me, I will be pre-ordering it. I will be first in line. I will be sat. That's all I'm saying. Then we have another one from the beginning of the year. I started the year doing a little book club with my sibling, and we didn't end the year doing our book club together, but we had 4 very nice months where we read the same book and briefly caught up about it. And the second book we read was Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Juno Dawson. They hated this book because of the transphobia in it. But it's hard to describe without making it sound bad, but the way that the transphobia was used as a plot device was really, I thought was really sweet. Obviously not the transphobia itself, the way it was handled by the non-transphobic characters. I don't trust my own mouth to say any more about that topic without getting the words muddled up and saying something horrible, which I definitely don't mean, because I adored this book. I thought it was a super fun modern fantasy. I think so many fantasies are set in either like an alternative world or a historical world, and you don't see many that, you know, have TVs and care about makeup and having to fit in with other teenagers. And it's not a YA book, but there is YA characters in it. It was a beautiful story about female friendship, and I don't want to, you know, sound too Spider-Man, but with great power comes great responsibility. It's a really interesting concept, and it's one of those concepts that if you think about it too much, could be real. If you told me there was a whole coven of witches who were living in secret in the UK, but they had a branch within the government and they were somewhat not in control of the government, but had a say and an impact, I'd believe it. You know what? It's the kind of thing that really could exist. And I think that's arguably my favourite kind of fantasy. So I ended up reading the whole series. The rest of the series was 4 stars. It didn't hit me as hard as this one did, but I have now collected all of the books in hardback, and I have a beautiful collection, and I'm very proud of it. And I love the series, and I think I will love it more upon a reread. And the fact that I know I'm going to reread it at some point is enough. That is part of the 5-star feeling. This year is a bad example, but I really don't reread a lot of books, so the fact that I do intend to reread this series at some point says everything. If I see that it has reread potential, that is a 5-star book. Then we have a new release, actually. It's the second book in Ali Hazelwood's paranormal series. Oh, I thought I was going to get to show off my nice purple special edition from the works, but you can't really see it very well because the lighting is atrocious today because the weather has been so dark and gloomy for the past few days. Mates by Ali Hazelwood. I devoured and adored this book. Maybe it helps that I listened to quite a lot of this book on a series of 3-hour drives that I was doing up and down the country to go see my sibling for their birthday. So I did actually binge listen to a lot of this, but also the audiobook was fantastic. It was duet narration rather than dual narration, which I am learning the difference between, because a dual narration is when you have a male and female or 2 actors doing each character's perspective chapters, but a duet narration is when they pop into each other's chapters. So if there's any male characters, well, I say male and female, obviously it's not exclusively that binary, but in this character it is male and female, the male main character and the female main character. If there's a male character in the female main character's chapter, the male actor will do those lines, and vice versa in the male character's perspective. And it just makes it so much more immersive than having to listen to a female actor do a male voice and a male actor do a female voice. That was a really long-winded way of trying to explain it, but I think you get what I'm saying. I loved the duet narration. The audiobook was fantastic. The whole concept was so fun. There's definitely some forced proximity in there, but I did find their romance just so endearing. I found them so compelling as characters. I loved Serena. I loved this book so much that I actually went and bought the special edition from the works. So I now own 2 editions of both Bride and Mate, and as I always say, no regrets. This next one was a really unexpected 5-star for me because it is Fearful by Lauren Roberts, which is the last novella in the Powerless series, because you've got Powerless, then Powerful, which is another novella, Reckless, then straight onto another full-length novel, Fearless, and then Fearful is the last novella to kind of complete the series. It has, I think the author posted that you can tandem read Fearful and Fearless, but the point I'm trying to make is that I rated Fearless like 2.5 stars, maybe. It might have been a 2-star book because it just felt so icky and I didn't like it. I didn't like Payden and Kai that much. But Kit, I love Kit. And it's frustrating because you see all these Team Kai, Team Kit things. I'm Team Kit, but not in the way that I want Kit for Payden. I want Kit for me. Payden and Kai can have each other because they're both annoying. Kit, however, that is an interesting complex character that I was so excited to read more about. Again, I read this as an audiobook and I think it was duet narration as well. It was fantastic. It was just so interesting. And it showed that Lauren Roberts is so much more capable as a writer to write things that aren't really painfully stereotypical and like basically stolen plots from other fantasy books. But this was really cool and I really enjoyed it. But I feel like very guilty pleasure about it because the whole Powerless series just was so stereotypical and so like unimaginative. But I really enjoyed this and I am a little bit ashamed about it. This one I not regrets, but just a little bit of shame. The one book that I don't own physically that I rated 5 stars this year is the most recent release in the Thursday Murder Club series. It's The Impossible Fortune by Richard Osman. I love the Thursday Murder Club series, but it's never been a 5-star series for me. I really enjoy this series. It's just, I'm a bit hit and miss on cozy series because sometimes cozy as a kind of subgenre can just feel a lot like not having a plot, but these books have quite an intense plot, but they're also very charming, very witty, have fantastic audiobooks. Again, I love listening to these as audiobooks, which is why I don't own this one in particular physically. These old people just take no shit, so even though they are high stakes, they make it feel like they're not bothered by the stakes, which is why I think some describe it as cozy. But I have thoroughly enjoyed the series so far, and The Impossible Fortune just, I don't know why it was different to the other ones, but it just ticked all the right boxes for me. It ticked everything I love about the rest of the series, but also it just had something extra. I think it wasn't quite as depressing as book 4. Book 4 had like a really sad point in it, and it had a massive impact on one of the characters. But I think they all felt incredibly present in this one, but also it didn't neglect that element of grief that one of the characters was going through. But it was really, really nice. It opened with a wedding, and I love weddings. And I just had a fantastic time. I thoroughly enjoyed it. This is the pinnacle of 5 stars as a feeling. I can't tell you why this one was 5 stars and the rest of the series wasn't, but this one was 5 stars. The stars aligned. It felt right in my body. I felt it in my chest. 5 stars as a feeling, and that book got 5 stars. Now on to the last 2 books that I have ready and waiting here. And I've put these together because they are by the same author. One of these books was new to me this year. One of them was a reread. So we'll start with the book that was new to me this year. And that was Scattered Showers by Rainbow Rowell. I've had this book in my collection for a couple of years now because Rainbow Rowell is the author of my favourite book of all time. So when I saw this gorgeous special edition in Waterstones, you've got this really pretty cover. I don't know if you'll be able to see, there's like raindrops not iridescent, foiled raindrops on the cover. It's got these rainbow sprayed edges, and then the book itself is printed on white pages, which I generally hate, but the text is in colour, so it's in this kind of mauvey pink colour. I don't think you'll be able to see it because the lighting in here is terrible, but it also has artwork at the beginning of each short story, because this is a short story collection. I don't think I said that. So we've got these gorgeous pieces of artwork for each short story. Now, I did give an overview of my thoughts and feelings on each short story individually in my 25 in 2025 wrap up, because this was a book from that list, and that's the reason I read it this year. And not all of those stories were 5-star stories for me, but there was enough of them that the whole collection gave me the 5-star feeling. Particularly Midnights. I adored Midnights. Midnights was beautiful. The Snowball was really, really sweet, and even though it's not said explicitly, again with the autism representation, If the Fates Allow, oh, what I would do for a full-length novel of If the Fates Allow. That was stunning. Mixed Messages was wonderful, and I loved that in this YA collection you've got a story of two women told almost exclusively in texts going through the menopause, and it's just so, it's not something that YA readers or me will be able to empathise with, but it's just so interesting to read about, especially where your target demographic is girls, and it is something we will have to acknowledge at some point in our lives. And I just thought it was really interesting to put that within this book. And then the last one, the very last short story in this collection, is called In Waiting, and I just think it's such a clever concept, and it gave me the 5-star feeling. So, I mean, I think I just named 5 out of the 9 short stories that I would like to read full-length novels for. So I think that says everything. All of these stories are, I reckon, less than 40 pages. They're really quick reads, but it was just wonderful. I had a wonderful time. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm glad I have this exclusive edition. Last but not least, I may have kind of spoiled it because it is Rainbow Rowell and it is my favourite book of all time, and it is a reread. I reread Fangirl as part of the book club I did with my sibling, actually, and reading this felt like coming home. I first read this book, I think, when I was 17 or 18, and I remember the first time I read it, I kind of soft DNF'd it because I didn't get past a certain point, and I'd borrowed it from a friend and I didn't want to keep it for too long without giving it back to them. So I said, you know what, I'm not in the right mindset for this. I will read it at some point. Then I ended up with my own copy and I finished it, and the main female character in this book is me when I was a kid, and especially going off to uni. Again, I don't want to project my autism diagnosis onto other people, but I mean, the female main character in this doesn't go down to the food hall in her college because no one shows her where it is for like weeks. So she just lives on energy bars because no one has explicitly shown her where the food hall is. And I'm like, that is such autistic behaviour. You know, she turns to fan fiction and her online community to get through the things in real life that she finds stressful. And I did exactly that when I was in my last years of school. It just made me feel so seen in the best way. I think Rainbow Rowell writes young adult characters and the young adult experience that I went through in a really, really realistic, I suppose is the best word. I don't have good enough words to describe this book and how much it means to me and everything about how this book makes me feel seen. And also in rereading it, I realised that the male main character, I may have inadvertently married him. Levi is quite a lot like my husband. Not in like interests, but just kind of in mannerisms and the way he loves her. He just reminded me of my husband a little bit, and I was like, that's really cute. Yeah, it made me feel all happy and glowy inside, and you know what, you can't argue with that. It cemented this book as my favourite book of all time, if not joint first with another book that I reread last year or the year before. I've also reread it recently, so I know I love that as well. But yeah, I was really worried rereading that because I was concerned that I wouldn't love it as much as I did when I was a teenager, but I absolutely did. So no regrets there whatsoever. So those were the 12 books that I have so far in December in 2025 rated 5 stars. There's a high chance that another Maximum Ride book will make it onto this list. There's a few other books that I hope to read before the end of the year, and optimistically maybe they will be 5 stars as well. Who knows? I'll let you know in my December wrap up if anything else crops up on this list. But those were the 12 books that I have rated 5 stars in 2025. I hope you're having a lovely Christmas break if you celebrate. If not, I hope you're having a lovely December. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you're reading a great book, and I'll see you next time for another bookish video.